Okay, today I'm going to read The Heritage of the Ultimate Law of Life, which is number 29 Gosho in the first volume of the Gosho, which is the writings of Nichiren Daishonin, page 216. It says, written by Nichiren, background. It has the background link. You can go to read the background first if you want to. I'll read that later if I get a chance, if I don't get a call from work. Okay. I have just carefully read your letter to reply the ultimate law of life and death as transmitted from the Buddha to all living beings is Myoho Renge-kyo. The 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo were transferred from Shakyamuni to many treasures. The 2 Buddhas inside the treasure tower to Bodhisattva's superior practice, which is Nichiren, which he proved that he is actualizing Bodhisattva's superior practice. Carrying on based on all of the things that was recorded in the sutras that this person would go through, he went through. No one else has gone through all those things. Carrying on a heritage unbroken since the infinite past. Myo represents death and Ho life. Myoho, the mystic law, it represents the yin yang of life and death. Living beings that pass through the 2 phases of life and death are the entities of the 10 worlds. 10 worlds are hell, hunger, animality, anger, tranquility, heaven, learning, realization, bodhisattva, and Buddhahood. The other day I tried to think of them and I couldn't remember. Those are the 10 states of life that we go through. And they very much go along with, there's a book called Force versus Power, or Power versus Force. And power is the inner life state to affect positively other people. Force is where you try to push your will upon other people with physical force. And power is the true source of happiness and spreading peace. And the 10 worlds in the book, Power versus Force, you can muscle test. He has this range of emotions, and the lowest emotions are way down there in hell, and the highest ones are enlightenment. Just like he calls them a little bit different names, but they're very similar. And you can muscle test based on 1,000, 0 to 1,000 frequency, and you can muscle test what your frequency is at. What am I at now? 800, 900, 950? I'm way up there right now. Some days I'm lower. Some days I feel like shit. Okay. You can also do that with viruses. You can ask what they were at, which I was doing at the beginning of the pandemic. So I was always keeping myself above what the virus was, so I couldn't get it. And one weekend I went through some shit, and that's when I caught it, because I lowered my vibrational frequency. Okay. Or the entity of Myoho Renge-kyo. He says all people that go through life and death are no-Myoho Renge-kyo in the 10 worlds. Tiantai says that one should understand that living beings and their environments and the causes and effects at work within them are all the law of Renge, the lotus. Here, living beings and their environment means the phenomena of life and death. Thus, it is clear that where life and death exist, cause and effect, or the law of the lotus is at work. The great teacher Dengyo states, quote, the 2 phases of life and death are the wondrous workings of one mind. Mind here is not up here, it's the heart. The true essence, or the chi of life. The 2 ways of existence and non-existence are the true functions of the inherently enlightened mind. No phenomena, either heaven or earth, yin or yang, the sun or the moon, the 5 planets, or any of the worlds from hell to Buddhahood, are free from the 2 phases of life and death. Life and death are simply the 2 functions of Myoho Renge-kyo. We chant Nam Myoho Renge-kyo. Nam means to become one with this law of life. In his great concentration and insight, Tiantai says, arising is the arising of the essential nature of the law, and extinction is the extinction of that nature. Shakyamuni and many treasures and the two Buddhas are also the two phases of life and death. Shakyamuni Buddha, who attained enlightenment countless kalpas ago, and the Lotus Sutra that leads all people to Buddhahood, and we ordinary human beings are in no way different or separate from one another. To chant Myoho Renge Kyo with this realization is to inherit the ultimate law of life and death. This is a matter of the utmost importance for Nichiren's disciples and lay supporters, and this is what it means to embrace the Lotus Sutra. For one who summons up one's faith and chants Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, with the profound insight that now is the last moment of one's life, the sutra proclaims, quote, when the lives of these persons come to an end, they will be received into the hands of 1,000 Buddhas, who will free them from all fears and keep them from falling into the evil paths of existence, end quote. How can we possibly hold back our tears at the inexpressible joy of knowing that not just one or two, not just 100 or 200, but as many as 1,000 Buddhas will come to greet us with open arms? Concerning one who disbelieves the Lotus Sutra, because the sutra states, quote, when his life comes to an end, he will fall into the Vici hell, end quote. The wardens of hell will surely come for one and take one away by the hands. How pitiful. The 10 kings of the world of the dead will then pass judgment, and the heavenly messengers who have been with one since birth will berate one for one's evil deeds. Think of those 1,000 Buddhas extending their hands to all of Nichiren's disciple and lay supporters who chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo as melons or moonflowers extending their slender vines. My followers are now able to accept and uphold the Lotus Sutra because of the strong ties they formed with it in their past existences. They are certain to obtain the fruit of Buddhahood in the future. The heritage of the Lotus Sutra flows within the lives of those who never forsake it in any lifetime whatsoever, whether in the past, the present, or the future. But those who disbelieve and slander the Lotus Sutra will immediately, quote, destroy all the seeds for becoming a Buddha in this world, end quote. Because they cut themselves off from the potential to attain enlightenment, they do not share the heritage of the ultimate law of life and death. All disciples and lay supporters of Nichiren should chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with the spirit of many in body, but one in mind. That is called many in body, one in mind. Shiki Shinfuni? Yeah. No. Shiki Shinfuni is the oneness in body and mind. Many in body, one in mind. I forget the Japanese term for that. Transcending all differences among themselves to become as inseparable as fish in the water in which they swim. This spiritual bond is the basis for the universal transmission of the ultimate law of life and death. Herein lies the true goal of Nichiren's propagation. When you are so united, even the great desire for widespread propagation can be fulfilled. But if any of Nichiren's disciples disrupt the unity of many in body but one in mind, they would be like warriors who destroy their own castle from within. Nichiren has been trying to awaken all the people of Japan to faith in the Lotus Sutra so that they too can share the heritage and attain Buddhahood. But instead, they have persecuted me in various ways and finally had me banished to this island. He was banished to Sato Island, which is right by Niigata, where I used to live. I can see it many days, just like Catalina here. Looks just like Catalina from California. And it takes about the same length of time, and the waters are about just as rough as to Catalina on the little ferry that you take there. You can bring your car on the ferry. I think you can do it on the Catalina one too, but I've never done it. Or you can go rent a motorcycle there, which I did a couple times. You have followed Nichiren, however, and met with suffering as a result. It pains me deeply to think of your anguish. Gold can be neither burned by fire nor corroded or swept away by water, but iron is vulnerable to both. A worthy person is like gold, a fool like iron. You are like pure gold because you embrace the gold of the Lotus Sutra. The sutra states, quote, just as among all the mountains, Mount Sumeru is foremost, so this Lotus Sutra is likewise, end quote. It also states, quote, the good fortune you gain thereby cannot be burnt by fire or washed away by water, end quote. It must be ties of karma from the distant past that have destined you to become my disciple at a time like this. Shakyamuni and many treasures certainly realized this truth. The sutra's statement, quote, those persons who had heard the law dwelled here and there in various Buddha lands, constantly reborn in company with their teacher, end quote, cannot be false in any way. How admirable that you have asked about the transmission of the ultimate law of life and death. I have never heard of anyone who has asked such a question. I have answered in complete detail in this letter, so please take it deeply to heart. The important point is to carry out your practice confident that Nam-myoho Renge Kyo alone is the heritage that was transferred from Shakyamuni to many treasures. Was transferred from Shakyamuni and many treasures to Bodhisattva Superior Practice, which is Nichiren. The function of fire is to burn and give light. The function of water is to wash away filth. The winds blow away dust and breathe life into plants, animals, and human beings. The earth produces the grasses and trees, and heaven provides nourishing moisture. The 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo are also like that. They are the cluster of blessings brought by the bodhisattvas of the earth, disciples of the Buddha in his true identity. The Lotus Sutra says that Bodhisattva Superior Practice will appear now in the latter day of the law to propagate this teaching. But has this happened? Question mark. Whether or not Bodhisattva Superior Practices has appeared in this world, Nichiren has already made a start in propagating this teaching. So he over and over says, he gives hint that he's that person, but then he always gives questions, so you can have your doubt and you can chant about it and you can resolve it for yourself. He doesn't need to say who he is, but he does say it in many other places. He says, I'm the teacher, the parent and teacher and sovereign of this nation, which is the 3 virtues of a Buddha. Be resolved to summon forth the great power of faith and chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo with the prayer that your faith will be steadfast and correct at the moment of death. Never seek any other way to inherit the ultimate law of life and death and manifest it in your life. Only then will you realize that earthly desires are enlightenment, and that the suffering of birth and death are nirvana. Even embracing the Lotus Sutra would be useless without the heritage of faith. I will go into particulars again on another occasion. With deep respect, Nichiren, the Shramana of Japan. And I looked that up before, but I'm going to look that up again. Shramana. Define Shramana. It doesn't, it didn't spell it right. Shramana. Whoops. I gotta close something on my app here. Okay, close this. Hide. Okay. Where is my Shramana? Shramana. Shramana. Come on, R. Okay, let's see if it says Shramana. Shramana. Shramana means one who labors, toils, and exerts themselves, or seeker, one who performs acts of austerity, ascetic. During its development, the term came to refer to several non-Brahmanical ascetic religions parallel to, but separate from the Vedic religion. So it has a lot of meanings. Shramana in history. Those who practice an ascetic and strict and self-denying lifestyle in pursuit of spiritual liberation. So he's living in exile on a snow-covered island. So that's his shamanic practice, I guess. Okay. Shramana of Japan. The 11th day of the second month in the 9th year of Bun-A, which is 1272. He was born in 1222, so he was 50 years old at this time, during his exile. It's a reply to Honorable Sairembo. Sairembo was a Tiantai priest who was also in exile, and he became a follower for a while of Nichiren, and he asked him a lot of the best go shows that he wrote on Sato were because of answering this priest's questions. So if it wasn't for Sairembo practicing for a little while with Nichiren, while he was in exile with Nichiren, we wouldn't have the great go shows that we have. Background: this letter, dated the 11th day of the second month in 1272, was sent by Nichiren Daishonin to Sairembo Nichijo, a former Tendai priest who, for reasons that are unclear, was also living in exile on Sato Island. Details about Sairembo are scarce, but it is known that he was originally from Kyoto. In Kyoto, I went to the top of the mountain there, Mount Hiei, which is where, at the time, Nichiren went to study before he went back to Kamakura and proclaimed his teachings. He went to all the big major temples, but the seat of the Tendai sect was Mount Hiei, which is the top temple up on the top of the mountain before they burned 5,000 temples on the mountain. The temple, a newly restored temple, was but of a few temples left on the mountain, and that one's called, oh, I forgot what temple that's called, but anyway. So he had studied at Mount Hiei, the seat of the Tendai school, before his exile. He was also present at the Tsukahara debate held in front of Samaido, the Daishonin's dwelling at Tsukahara, on the 16th and 17th day of the first month in 1272. So when he first got to exile, he decided to asked all the other priests on Sato to have an open debate with him, because he wanted to gain followers and he wanted protection from the people that wanted to probably kill him on the island. So in order to protect him from being killed, he wanted to have an open debate about Buddhism so that people can realize his understanding of Buddhism was way higher than any other person's understanding of Buddhism, because he went to study at all the top temples around Japan before he got exiled. In this debate, the Daishonin was the clear victor over the Pure Land, True Word, and other priests from Sato and from various provinces of northern Japan. A number of people converted to his teaching at the time, among them Sairembo. See that? That means they're going to give me money for helping you guys learn about Buddhism. So I gotta go get this offer. What is it? Oh, good, $100. I need $100 right now. 9 stops, I'll do it. Hillcrest Whole Foods. Okay, kids, I gotta go. It was nice talking to you guys. Sorry I didn't read the whole rest of the footnotes and everything, but that's all you get today.